Ahead of an election like none other, information has proven to be key, right? According to the Voter Participation Center, 65% of Latino voters say they prefer to vote in person but don't have enough information. One woman saw that need firsthand when her efforts to register voters unveiled a barrier to voting in the local Latinx community.
41 Action News anchor Gabriela Pagan shares her push for equality.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Buenas. Are you interested in voting? ¿Le interesa votar? Sí.
Every year there's a million Latinos who are turning 18, which means a million possible registered voters.
Date and signature.
That their vote most definitely counts. Right. We're not the minority anymore.
What started out as an effort to register and educate voters in underserved communities.
And this is your current address?
Quickly turned into a fight for equality at the polls for Latinos in Kansas City.
What we started to learn is those people feel like a neglected part of this process in this community. That everybody else got to vote and do all these things, and nobody was speaking their language and addressing their needs and saying, hey, here's how you do this in a language you understand.
In setting up locations around town, voters helping voters realized there was a need.
So I called the Secretary of State office, and I said, well, where's the Spanish form? For the ballot request form, right? Where's the Spanish one? And after a few calls with some weird answers, I called back one day, and they're like, okay, listen. There is not a large enough Spanish-speaking population in the state of Missouri for us to legally have to make that document available.
41 Action News checked online and called the Missouri Secretary of State's office, and it turns out Hatley is correct. The Missouri Secretary of State's office told us it was, quote, really unnecessary because federal forms on the U.S. Election Assistance Commission website are sufficient and available in 15 different languages, including Spanish.
I think it's part of voter suppression. And I think that it's unconscionable. I mean, I think it's terrible.
I found that ridiculous and rather offensive because there are I don't care how many Spanish-speaking people we have. If this was not a hard thing to do. You can pay your water bill in Spanish. You can go to the ATM in Spanish. You can do everything in Spanish should you choose in this world anymore, but not this.
Hatley soon found herself going down a rabbit hole, combining efforts first with the Guadalupe Center to tap into the Latino community and then the local League of Women Voters.
I answered the phone a lot and answered their questions a lot.
The push to implement the Spanish language on voter registration documents began, learning the Kansas City Board of Elections could accept a form in Spanish if one was created.
Their biggest concern was they needed to make sure they had people, once they received the forms, that could read them, whether they knew Spanish or not.
The form they ended up with is a combination of English and Spanish. So a person who speaks Spanish can request a ballot, and a volunteer who speaks English can then get them their ballot. With a sign that reads, "We know Spanish. Come talk to us about voting," they're now meeting them where they are.
¿Le interesa votar?
That became critical. What more patriotic thing can you do in this life in this country than help people vote?
Puede votar más pronto, ausente.
And frankly, what less patriotic thing can you do than trying to suppress that?
You guys can go ahead and just drop in the mail.
Now, after checking, 41 Action News did find a voter registration form in Spanish, but not a Missouri ballot request form. 888-839-8682, or VOTA, is a bilingual national hotline meant to connect Latino voters nationwide with information on the electoral process, voter ID requirements, and so much more. We have all of this information for you over on our website. Visit kshb.com. In the newsroom, Gabriela Pagan, 41 Action News.